Whether you're finishing up Baldur's Gate 3 for the first time, or maybe the 20th, or maybe it didn't quite click for you, but you still crave that epic, choice-driven RPG experience, you're in the right place, as in this video I'll be covering 18 great games like Baldur's Gate 3 that are perfect for your next adventure. Most of these games fall into the CRPG category, or the computer role-playing game genre in case you didn't know, that feature epic stories shaped by your choices, party-based exploration, and coming with some amazing turn-based tactical combat. Hey everyone, it's Marco here, and if you're enjoying my content, don't forget to subscribe. But if you're here just for the games, in no particular order, we'll start with the Shadowrun series.
I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I need your help. I'm on my way to Hong Kong to finish something I should have faced a long time ago.
If you're looking for a lighter introduction to the CRPG genre, the Shadowrun Trilogy is a perfect entry point. Set in a cyberpunk fantasy world, these games simplify the genre's usual stat-heavy complexity, making them accessible without sacrificing what makes CRPGs so special. You'll get that turn-based combat, skill checks and dialogue, hacking or decking, and then upgrades for your weapons, spells, and even cyberware. Everything is streamlined, self-explanatory, and very easy for beginners to understand. The game is set in a unique urban fantasy world, blending classic cyberpunk tropes, corporations, cybernetics, conspiracies, with fantasy elements like dwarves, elves, dragons, and even some magic. Just be aware that it is an indie dev team, so the games won't be the flashiest, but they're oozing with atmosphere and charm. Each game in the trilogy offers about 20 hours of content with independent stories, so you don't even need to play them in any particular order. Now you could probably skip the first Shadowrun Returns, as it feels more like a tech demo. However, Dragonfall is where it shines, with a killer story and companions, and yeah, Hong Kong has slightly more polish and lore. Overall, the Shadowrun Trilogy is a must-play if you love narratives, world building, and the idea of a cyberpunk fantasy mashup.
The nations of the free world have fallen.
Next up is Tyranny, a highly underrated game where this time the bad guys have already won. That's this game for you, a CRPG by Obsidian, developers that know a thing or two about making epic RPGs. In the game, you play as a Fatebinder of Kyros, enforcing the Overlord's will in this fractured realm. So instead of fighting evil, you're navigating the aftermath, dealing with factions and making tough, morally great choices. And it is a very unique experience, like when everyone is scared of you and you cast some massive spell that destroys everything around you. It's pretty intense. It comes with some real-time with pause combat if that's your jam, but the real star here is the story. Your decisions shape the world in unexpected ways, and there's no easy win. The spell crafting system is pretty slick, letting you customize magic to fit your playstyle. Plus, you get to decide how ruthless or how merciful you want to be. Sure, it's a bit shorter than other CRPGs, but it's got huge replayability as you get to choose who to side with, so every new game you can choose a different path. So if you love the weighty choices of Baldur's Gate, this game is ideal for players who have dabbled in the genre and want something smarter and a bit darker. If you've ever wanted to roleplay a cold-blooded judge in a broken world, or bend magic itself to your will, Tyranny is a game definitely worth checking out.
Made a nice story. You fixing up that old keep? Lifting the curse?
Now this list would not be complete without Obsidian's Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 that help revive the spirits of Baldur's Gate with deep lore, real-time with pause combat, and high fantasy storytelling. The first is quite text-heavy, it's got a lot of philosophy, and you'll need to make tough moral choices, but it's also quite dense with unexplained systems that might push some newcomers away. But then you have the sequel, Deadfire, that improves a lot, it adds multi-classing and shifts to a pirate-flavored open-world voyage. The world of Yora is rich and layered and comes with some very fascinating gods, cultures, and political intrigue to keep you engaged. On the combat side, it rewards party synergy and long-term build planning, but just remember it won't be holding your hand. So if you like strategy, lore, and complex builds, you'll definitely find a lot to enjoy here. I definitely say this underrated series is best suited for those who have some CRPG or tabletop experience, so definitely check out Pillars of Eternity, both 1 and 2, if you enjoy getting lost in stats and deep narrative worlds.
Tonight, we have
vengeance!
Up next is Dragon Age Origins. For those who crave deep party dynamics, rich storytelling, and a tactical RPG combat with actual weight behind your choices. And yes, I know it's not technically a CRPG due to the camera angle, and yes, it's a bit dated, but I've included games on this list that sometimes step out of the classic boundaries, as fans of Baldur's Gate 3 will still get a kick out of them. You play as a Grey Warden, chosen to fight back a demonic blight threatening the land of Ferelden. The story will adapt based on your chosen origin, whether you're a noble, a mage, a rogue, and then the decisions you make can drastically shift the outcomes and relationships. You'll travel from dwarven kingdoms to elven forests, gathering allies and unraveling political unrest. Gameplay mixes real-time strategy with pause-and-play tactics, and yes, its visuals might be a bit dated, but its dark fantasy world, phenomenal music, and unforgettable companions will still hit you pretty hard. And yes, I've only mentioned Dragon Age Origins, but if you enjoy these kind of games, the others are really good to play too. Next up, Age of Decadence is a true hidden gem for the CRPG veterans who crave something challenging and choice heavy. The game is set in a crumbling Roman-inspired world where it throws you into a brutal turn-based tactical system where every stat point matters and death is always one bad choice away. Unlike most RPGs, your background shapes your journey but doesn't lock you in. Like, you can just straight up betray your mentor or convert to a new belief mid-game. It's got branching paths, faction conflicts, and non-linear storytelling that could quite possibly rival others in the genre. However, the game isn't very forgiving. Like, if you fail a check, you might instantly die. But for those who can handle the harsh difficulty, it is very rewarding. And while the dated graphics and clunky UI might scare off some newcomers, old school fans will find a masterpiece beneath the rough exterior. So if you want the Fallout style depth but with more bite, check out Age of Decadence. You might just really enjoy it.
For 500 years, the devil god Hrothgar waged war and terrorized the mortal realms.
Coming up next is Black Geyser, which looks and plays a bit like a spiritual cousin to Baldur's Gate, complete with party-based real-time with pause combat, grim fantasy vibes, and dialogue-heavy quests. It's also got an interesting mechanic, the world's greed level. Demand too much gold or act selfishly, and the world gets a bit nastier, unlocking darker consequences. You'll recruit allies, explore war-torn land, and fight gods and monsters. But sometimes the combat and quest design can be a bit but the devs have actively improved it since post-launch, fixing bugs and adding some polish. And while it's not a genre definer, it's a solid CRPG for fans of old school mechanics with a fresh narrative hook. Perfect for players who are craving that 90s RPG feel with a new moral twist. So if you've played Baldur's Gate over and over and you still want tactical fights and ethical dilemmas in a dark fantasy world, maybe check out Black Geyser today. Then next on the list is Colony Ship, and this is for fans of deep choice-driven RPGs and love sci-fi politics more than Ashravala in The Expanse. The game is set aboard a generation ship that is falling into ruin, so you'll need to navigate faction wars, moral grey areas, and some really hectic survival decisions. There's no power tripping going on here though. The combat is brutal and is often best just to talk your way out of sticky situations. It's one of those games where you can be a pacifist, be a sneaky ninja, or just go balls to the wall, but you'll only know the outcome of your actions a few hours later. It's an underrated gem with branching storylines, skill-based progression, and some messy, unforgettable consequences. So if you crave immersive world building and meaningful choices over flashy cutscenes, Colony Ship might be a game worth checking out.
Hello everyone out there in the Wasteland. On today's show I want to talk to you about our world.
Now if you really enjoyed the CRPG gameplay of Baldur's Gate but you want it in a different setting, maybe check out Wasteland 3. This game brings the heat. Well, I guess this instance it'll be the cold with its post-apocalyptic snow-covered Colorado setting. You'll play as desert rangers on a mission to restore order, negotiate with factions, and survive the chaos. Plus it's got that same tactical turn-based CRPG gameplay that gives you tons of freedom in combat and story choices. In the game you'll build up your party, gear up your Kodiak, your badass truck, and then make decisions that shape the world around you. The game blends dark humor with some seriously tough moral dilemmas, making each playthrough feel quite unique. It's It's also got some great voice acting to help bring characters to life, and the combat both feels crunchy and strategic. Then you throw in some epic explosions, mutants, and branching storylines, so if you love the choice-driven gameplay of BG3 but want a break from fantasy, Wasteland 3 is definitely worth a look. Then next on the list we've got Underrail, which is a hardcore throwback to the days of Fallout 1 and 2. This underrated gem is set in a post-apocalyptic underground world, where humanity lives in a vast interconnected underground network of rail lines and cave systems after a cataclysm on the surface. The turn-based combat is a bit like a strategic, brutal mini-puzzle that gets more rewarding the more you play, emphasizing tactical positioning, resource management, and character builds. Also, you're going to die, like a lot, so prepare yourself for some careful planning and tons of patience. Every decision from your skills to your gear shapes how you survive in this dangerous Metro-like world filled with mutants, factions, and secrets. Exploration is also non-linear, with a dense atmospheric world begging to be uncovered. Just be aware that there is no hand-holding, so irreversible mistakes are all part of the journey. Plus, the story unfolds subtly, adding layers of intrigue and dark lore. So for players who crave a challenge and miss the unforgiving nature of old-school CRPGs, Underrail is definitely a hidden gem worth checking out.
I've remembered something.
Now, if you are ready to travel back in time a bit, Planescape Torment definitely needs to be on your list. If you love reading in your games, or gaming in your reading. Also, forget the usual elves and dragons in stories. This game drops you into a wild, nihilistic multiverse packed with weird creatures, deep thoughts, and super personal storylines. It's more like, what is even existence, rather than just slay the nearest Dark Lord. You play as the Nameless One, which I guess is a bit of an ironic sounding name, but you're an immortal trying to uncover the truth of your countless past lives. Combat takes a bit of a backseat here. Instead, the game focuses on exploration, dialogue, like lots of dialogue, as well as some impactful choices. However, that writing is phenomenal, blending dark humor, existential dread, and moments of profound insight. You've got some companions too, including a sarcastic floating skull and a pyromaniac mage, which are some of the most unique characters in RPG history. And although the Infinity engine makes combat feel a bit clunky, the game's narrative brilliance overshadows its mechanical quirks. Plus, Beamdog's Enhanced Edition makes it a bit easier to experience it on modern hardware. So if you're looking for an epic story and mind-bending lore, Planescape Torment is definitely worth checking out.
What if you were a byproduct of another's immortality?
Then next on the list we've got Torment, Tides of Numenera, a narrative-heavy isometric RPG for players who would rather talk than stab their way through a game. Many call it the spiritual successor to Planescape. It's set in 1 billion years in the future, where Earth is littered with ancient alien tech, weird mutants, and philosophical mysteries. You play as the last cast-off, a body left behind by an immortal being, trying to survive while being hunted by a terrifying force called the Sorrow. And again, the gameplay leans heavily on dialogue, skill checks, and choices that shape your personality and how the world will react around you. And yes, combat does exist, but again, it can be avoided. So if you love strange worlds, deep writing, and prefer existential choices over flashy fights, then maybe check out Torment, Tides of Numenera today.
1986, the year when it all ended. Humanity barely survived.
Next on the list is Atom RPG, where vodka meets mutated wildlife in this hardcore love letter to Fallout 1 and 2. It's basically Russian Fallout, like seriously, it very closely resembles the original Fallout games in UI, soundtrack, and mechanics. Set in a 1986 Soviet wasteland after a nuclear devastation, you play as a survivor exploring harsh landscapes and unraveling a conspiracy threatening what's left of humanity. The Soviet wasteland is filled with desolate bunkers, mutant-infested zones, and settlements rebuilt from the ashes. It's shortly after the bombs have fallen, with some people still remembering pre-war life, creating this atmosphere that's full of melancholy, that some will really enjoy, especially thanks to its well-written dialogue. A deep character creation system also lets you shape your hero, while turn-based combat, diverse skills, and multiple choice dialogues offer freedom of how you approach your challenges. It's a slow burner type of story, but non-linear quests encourage creative problem solving, and random encounters add some unpredictability. Like, you can just straight up break off from the main quest and go off script, leading to some crazy broken characters if you know what you're doing. Overall, it's best for some hardcore CRPG fans who appreciate systems over polish and looking for a game similar to the original Fallout titles. So if that sounds good to you and you're looking for a gritty retro experience with a distinctly post-Soviet twist, Atom RPG might be your kind of game.
Blessed are the Lightbringers.
Next on the list, we've got Solasta, Crown of the Magister. This is perfect for anyone who loves Dungeons and Dragons but was never quite able to get that weekly game night going. It's a faithful digital take on the 5th edition rules, with dice rolls, turn-based combat, and the joy of throwing down natural ones that will ruin your day. You'll build a custom party, crawl through some trap-filled dungeons, and fight using clever tactics like high ground and environmental hazards. The story is nothing groundbreaking, but it feels like a fun homebrew campaign scribbled up the night before the game night, in a good way. And while the visuals are a bit dated and it focuses more on combat than the narrative, all of these systems are really solid. If you're into BG3, Divinity, or tabletop style combat with crunchy mechanics, this one is a little hidden gem still worth checking out.
Dear employee, on behalf of the Cronus Foundation, I welcome you to your new life under the dome.
And next on the list, we've got Encased. Imagine Fallout vibes with a 70s sci-fi twist. It's set in an alternate timeline where a mysterious dome traps anyone who enters. This post-apocalyptic CRPG throws you into a world of conspiracy, survival, and retro-futurism. You can join factions, customize your character, and navigate a world where your choices actually do matter. The turn-based combat is punchy with laser blasting chaos and quirky contraptions to play with. The lore surrounding the dome and the people inside it, though, is where this game really stands out. Each wing or factions based on roles add layers of replayability and role-playing goodness. And sure, the animations can be a bit clunky, so what? If you love the freedom of choice and the combat in BG3, you'll feel right at home here. So for anyone itching for exploration, decision-making, and a unique setting, Encased delivers a dome load full of fun for you to enjoy.
For 100 years, we have been plagued by this war.
Then next up, we've got Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, a dense game filled with some insane character builds and epic storylines. I mean, let's be honest, you can't really go wrong with any of the Alcat games, and this one is no different. Set in a world torn between mortals and demons, you play the mythic hero of a massive crusade, gaining godlike powers, building armies, and shaping your destiny. It's a spiritual sequel to Pathfinder Kingmaker. I mean, you're welcome to play Kingmaker. It's still a really good game, but Wrath of the Righteous just improves on many different aspects, but again, still both are really solid titles. Here you'll recruit complex companions, argue over moral choices, and pick from wild story paths like the angel, the demon, the lich, maybe even the trickster, each changing your powers and the ending. The whole campaign is intimidatingly huge. The depth, the variety, and the storytelling really make it a gold mine for RPG fans. So if you've loved Baldur's Gate 3 but want darker themes and heavier customization, then Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous might just be for you.
Today we will fight to the death. Tomorrow they will sing about us.
Then next on the list, this one's a little bit outside of the classic CRPG formula, but Expeditions Rome is still worth checking out. You take on the role of a legatus, a Roman general commanding a legion, entrusted with battling the Republic's enemies and shaping the future of history. The setting is the turbulent period marking the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. If you've ever watched HBO's Rome, yeah, you'll know what's going on. The game is all about tough choices, political intrigue, and stabbing everyone with those polearm spears, because yeah, the combat here is a blast. So it's got a mix of CRPG and strategy, so a little outside of the box, but overall Expeditions Rome is a great alternative if you want something a little bit outside of that classic fantasy setting. Now, if you've made it this far and you've been wondering why do I keep mentioning Fallout 1 and 2, there's very good reason for it. These are the OG post-apocalyptic RPGs, and sure, they are over 2 decades old, but the feel is still very familiar for those who enjoy CRPGs. These isometric turn-based classics drop you into a gritty retro future where nukes have turned the world into a Mad Max fever dream filled with mutants, cannibals, and morally grey choices. In Fallout 1, you're a vault dweller searching for a water chip to save your people. Then in Fallout 2, you're their descendant on a quest to find a Garden of Eden kit. It all sounds very wholesome, but trust me, it's not. Both games are brutally unforgiving, dialogue heavy, and packed with branching paths, weird side quests, and a lot of dark humor. The combat is tactical, slow, and a bit janky, but the storytelling and atmosphere, it is top tier. So yeah, I would say Fallout 1 and 2 are great for patient gamers and are fans of bleak, brainy narratives.
Exploration, rediscovery, and expansion of the Imperium.
Next on the list, again, I wanted to add some variety here. If you wanted your RPG set in the 40k universe, definitely check out Rogue Trader. Developed by Alcat, you know, the folks behind Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, where here Rogue Trader lets you purge heretics and explore the stars in the God Emperor's name. The combat though is insane, with officer abilities granting extra turns and tactical layers like targeting frontline, backline, or rear for extra bonuses. It also nails both ranged and melee combat, with bullet sprays, partial cover, and brutal close-quarter fights. But also the writing strikes a balance between grim dark seriousness and self-aware humor. But yeah, you're a rogue trader. You're free to explore, experiment with heresy, well, very carefully, and then build a power base. But if you want an epic choice-driven RPG set in a universe where space marines and chaos reign supreme, this one is a must-play. Now for something completely different, Disco Elysium. This game is unreal, honestly. If you love the deep dialogue and dice roll driven choices of Baldur's Gate, this game will blow your mind. You play as a messed up detective solving a murder in a gritty, politically charged world. Now again, not technically a CRPG here because there's no traditional combat. It's all about conversation, exploration, and leveling up different parts of your psyche. While playing the game, I often got so engrossed trying to craft the character I wanted to be. Often I just had to think and be like, okay, what if I choose this? Because the game will always adapt to your choices. I mean, there's no classes, there's no skill trees or anything like that. So like I said, Disco Elysium isn't what you'd consider a traditional CRPG. It's more of an interactive novel. There's no combat and you generally spend most of your time talking with people, yourself, and the occasional inanimate object. I mean, in this game you aren't really aiming for the best build, but rather the kind of character you want to be. But damn, the writing, it is incredible. Every playthrough can feel like a noir mystery, a slapstick comedy, or some kind of psychological mirror into your mind. If you love story-driven RPGs and can withstand a lot of reading, do not skip out on Disco Elysium.
In a world forsaken by the gods, the people need you to become their next divine.
And then last but not least, obviously, I had to include this game, Divinity Original Sin 2. This is Larian's previous classic that set them up for BG3's success. And if you've already played Baldur's Gate 3, well, you're gonna feel right at home. You'll get to create your hero from a bunch of races, origins, and skills, then jump into a world where nearly everything is interactive. Like, it's actually crazy, even from the very start. The turn-based combat is tactical gold, making use of the environment to fry, freeze, or explode enemies in creative ways. In the game, you can play solo or grab friends for co-op, where both experiences are packed with choices that matter. What's crazy though is the amount of freedom of choices here, which can be a bit overwhelming at times, but once you understand the mechanics, it's like a world of possibilities just open up. Divinity's storytelling, rich lore, and massive replayability make it an absolute must-play. The depth is insane and is highly recommended if you enjoy turn-based RPGs and immersive stories. And if you can get it on sale for like 70% off, damn, you're in for a treat. But that wraps up my video. Hope you've enjoyed it. What did I leave out, and which of these games really mean a lot to you? Which of them have you put a lot of time in? And let me know in the comment section below so other people can get a good taste of what to play. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, maybe even subscribe, and like I mentioned, maybe become a member if you want to keep this channel running It really means a lot and shows a lot of support. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.